Welcome to the Lion Oil Refinery in El Dorado, Arkansas. Lion Oil's goal is to make this a safe place for its employees and contractors to work. All safety regulations that apply to Lion Oil employees also apply to contractors working here. This program is an overview of Lion's safety policies and is not considered comprehensive training. It's your responsibility as a condition of continued employment that you know and follow all facility rules and safety procedures. It's Lion's policy to control the passage of employees, visitors, material, and equipment through the plant gates and to protect personnel and property. All visitors, salesmen, service agencies, and business agents must register and obtain permission from their Lion Oil Contractor Coordinator to enter the plant. No visitor is to be in the plant without an approved escort.
The front gate is reserved for entry by Lion employees and vendors. The Christie Gate is authorized entry for Christie construction personnel only. All other contractors are to badge in and out through the turnstile at the contractor gate each time they enter and leave the refinery. Contractor personnel are permitted to park in designated contractor parking areas only. No personal vehicles are to enter the plant. The west gate is reserved for vehicles entering and exiting the plant carrying equipment and materials. Parking is not permitted at the west gate. Each person in the vehicle must badge in and out upon entry and exit. Passes are issued for both short-term and long-term work at the refinery. These passes are good for entrance and exit at designated gates only. Short-term passes are to be turned in daily. Employees transported to and from the job site must be inside the cab of the truck. No one is allowed to ride in the bed of a truck. Everyone riding in a vehicle must be wearing a seatbelt if the vehicle is designed with seatbelts. This includes trucks, ATVs, and any motorized vehicle.
All contractors are required to have either a C-Stop card or Certified Safety Council card and a site-specific safety orientation given by Lion Oil in order to work in the refinery. The contractor must have his own safety policy and conduct safety meetings with his employees on a regular basis. Records must be kept and a copy furnished to the contractor coordinator stating the subjects covered, the names of all the employees in attendance, and the date and time of the meeting. The contractor is responsible for supplying his employees with the proper personal protective equipment needed to do the job safely and will enforce its proper use. Hard hats and safety glasses meeting ANSI standards for industrial use will be worn at all times. Contact lenses are prohibited in operating and maintenance areas.
All personnel are required to wear boots or shoes meeting ASTMF 2413-05 standards. Footwear must be of good leather, heavy rubber, or documented acid and caustic-resistant constructions. Boots for personnel working in electrical services must be ASTMF with an EH designation for electrical hazards. Approved footwear has a sticker inside the boot indicating that it's ANSI approved. A gas monitoring system such as an H2S monitor is part of each contractor's daily PPE. It must be worn above the waist, forward of the shoulders, and part of the outermost layer of clothing. Hearing protection is also part of each contractor's daily PPE and is required anytime you're in a process area. Some areas of the plant require double hearing protection. These areas are marked by signs.
Other special PPE must be worn if the job warrants. This includes face shields, goggles, safety harnesses, respirators, welding hoods, welding vests, and gloves appropriate for the job task. Safety glasses must be worn at all times, even under welding hoods and face shields. Because possible conditions could arise requiring workers to don respirator equipment quickly, all workers in process or tank farm areas must be clean-shaven every day in the sealed surface area of a respirator. A mustache that does not extend past the corner of the mouth is permitted. Beards are not permitted.
Everyone working at Lion Oil is required to wear flame-resistant or FR clothing as the outermost layer of clothing. This includes jackets, coveralls, and hoods. Sleeves must be rolled down, buttoned at the cuff with shirt tails tucked in. Lab coats are available in the operations department for short trips into the unit areas or tank farms to perform limited tasks.
Only company vehicles needed to perform work will be allowed into process units or the tank farm. All contractor vehicles shall be appropriately marked to identify the company they represent. The maximum speed limit is 10 miles per hour in all process unit and tank farm areas. The speed limit on perimeter roads is 20 miles per hour. Obey all traffic and warning signs in the plant. Pedestrians always have the right-of-way. All vehicles are responsible for giving pedestrians room to walk safely in the refinery. Do not block access to any emergency equipment, such as fire hydrants, hose houses, monitors, and extinguishers. When parking in the refinery, do not block roadways. Either use designated parking lots or park parallel to the roadway.
Do not leave unattended vehicles running in process areas. Turn off the engine and set the brakes when your vehicle is unattended. The keys must be left in the ignition in case of an emergency.
Avoid shortcuts through process areas. Loitering in operating unit areas and field houses is not allowed. All contract employees are to remain in their assigned work areas. No one is to wander around the plant. Use walkways when they're provided whenever possible. Unless emergency situations arise, walk, do not run. Do not run up or down stairs, and use handrails provided and take one step at a time. Alcohol and drugs are strictly prohibited on Lion Oil property. Anyone bringing alcohol or drugs into the plant or working under the influence will be immediately and permanently removed from the property. Safety matches and personal cigarette lighters are permitted in the plant. However, their use is limited to approved smoking areas only.
Propane lighters are not permitted in the refinery.
Smoking is permitted in designated areas only. These areas are marked by signs. Smoking in buildings or vehicles is prohibited. Eating facilities will be provided by the contractor because of limitations within the plant eating areas. Sanitary facilities for contractor employees are to be provided and maintained by the contractor. All sanitary, lunch, and smoking facilities must be kept neat and orderly. The refinery medical facilities are available for initial emergency first aid and for injuries that occur in the refinery. An RN is available weekdays during normal working hours, and trained personnel are available at other times. All injuries, however minor, are to be reported and recorded at the Lion Oil First Aid Department located at the fire station. First aid will also provide you with medication for minor ailments, such as colds and headaches. The contractor shall maintain good housekeeping standards at all times as an integral part of his work. Dispose of trash and scrap in proper containers. Do not permit any tripping hazards in passageways, aisles, and stairways. Your work is not complete until you've cleaned up the site.
Cell phone use is limited to the smoking pen, the shop, inside vehicles, in parking lots, and inside field houses, in the off position. Lion Oil maintains a current SDS database for any chemical found in the plant. SDS covers all the safety data you need to know for the chemical. You can access this database by clicking on the SDS Pro icon on any computer in the plant. Hard copies can be found in the process lab. Contractors must have prior approval to bring chemicals into the refinery and must provide an SDS for those chemicals. Follow SDS requirements for proper PPE when working with any chemical. Signs and labels indicate areas where dangers may exist. All containers of chemicals and hazardous substances, regardless of size, must be labeled, indicating the hazards and precautions to be taken if you're required to handle or to be exposed to the substances. This includes tanks, vessels, cans, and totes. A hot work permit issued by the operating department or the safety department is required for any spark-producing equipment. Cameras and cell phones are not permitted in process areas or tank farms. Cameras require a permit issued by the safety department, and cell phones must be left in your vehicle or in the field office in the off position.
Use only closed-top safety cans with a spout for small quantities of gasoline. Do not refuel gasoline or diesel equipment while the engine is running. All firefighting equipment in the refinery is painted red. Fire extinguishers are placed within 50 feet of any place there could be a leak and, as a result, auto ignition. Fire prevention equipment, safety showers, exits, and all emergency equipment shall not be blocked.
Report any emergency by dialing 300 on any refinery phone.
This rings 5 locations in the refinery: OCC, the West Gate, the Front Gate, the Control Lab, and the Safety Department. Wait until all 5 have answered, and then tell them what type of emergency you have, whether fire, vapor release, medical, or rescue, and the location of the emergency. Stay calm and speak clearly so you can be understood. Be sure to tell us where you are in the refinery so the appropriate whistle can be sounded or medical personnel can be notified.
Stay on the line until help arrives or as long as possible. If you're in an area with no phone, any Lion Oil employee will call in the emergency using Channel 1 or the all-call channel on the radio.
There is 1 steam whistle and 1 air horn in the refinery.
The evacuation signal is 2 long blasts of the emergency steam whistle. This is a signal for all employees and contractors to evacuate immediately. In the event of a unit evacuation, all work must stop and all permits are canceled. Contractor supervisors should group their employees together at their entry gate or staging area. If a plant-wide evacuation is called for, a Lion employee will direct you to the Emmanuel Baptist Church parking lot so everyone can be accounted for. Do not return to work until you're told it's safe to do so. An evacuation of the refinery would only be called in the unlikely event of a catastrophic chemical release, such as a release from one of the tank cars at the rail yard located on the south end of the refinery. These tank cars are made to withstand incredible forces without rupturing, so even though it is possible, it's not likely.
The vapor release whistle is 3 short blasts 3 times for a total of 9 blasts. This means a gas cloud has been released in the plant and signals a very dangerous situation. If you do not know where to go during a release, do not leave your job site. If it is necessary to leave your job site, determine the wind direction by looking at the steam plume on the Belco tower or the windsocks located throughout the refinery, and exit the facility across and upwind of the release as quickly and safely as possible. When the vapor release whistle sounds, all permits are stopped, but may be reinstated when the all clear sounds, allowing work to continue.
The fire whistle is short, continuous blasts of the emergency steam whistle. When you hear this whistle, stop work immediately and consider all permits canceled until reissued or updated. Safety and/or operations will reissue hot work permits and give the okay to return to work.
Unless the fire is in your area, stay where you are until emergency personnel and equipment get to the fire. Then walk or drive to your entry gate and remain there until everyone is accounted for. Do not speed, do not run, and do not block emergency equipment on the road. Contractor supervisors are responsible for ensuring that all of their employees are accounted for. The rescue horn sounds like a very loud automobile horn. The signal is one long blast on the air horn. The air horn is used to assemble the rescue team.
The all clear is one long blast on the emergency steam whistle. When the all clear is sounded, it's safe to re-enter the refinery. Safety and/or operations will reissue hot work permits and give the okay to return to work. LEL alarms sound in field houses and activate flashing blue lights in certain areas, such as loading racks, tank farms, or pumps. If you see one of these flashing blue lights, leave the area immediately and notify safety or operations. You're required to badge in at the field house before entering a process unit. From the drop-down list, select a number that corresponds to the area of the refinery you wish to visit and enter that number on the keypad provided. Now you're signed in. If you'll be working in any process unit, in addition to badging in, you're required to let the unit operator know you'll be in their area. Work permits are required to ensure your safety. Work permits are issued by unit supervisors after the physical and atmospheric conditions of the work area have been monitored and evaluated to be safe. A cold work permit, the first permit issued to perform work, verifies the safe condition of the equipment to be worked on where no hot work or vessel entry is involved. Hot work permits are required before beginning any job that has the potential to produce sparks or flames. Hot work permits will be given primarily by the operating department, and safety will assist when special procedures are required. The permit is granted for 20 feet only. If you have to move more than 20 feet, another permit must be issued. Welding, cutting, soldering, battery-powered and electric tools, such as grinders, buffers, saws, and drills, are examples of tools that require hot work permits. A fire watch wearing a reflective vest must be provided when hot work is being performed in any process area or tank farm. The fire watch must be properly trained and equipped with an approved fire extinguisher. Fire watches must remain in the area of responsibility for 30 minutes after completion of the hot work. Hot work must cease immediately when the emergency alarm sounds. Work cannot be resumed until the hot work permit has been reissued. Anytime work is stopped for any hazard, workers must check with operations and safety before returning to work. A drive-in permit is required anytime a vehicle is brought into a process area or the tank farm. Bringing a vehicle and/or gas engine into one of these areas is considered a form of hot work. Confined space entry permits must be issued for all jobs where personnel are required to enter tanks, towers, and pipelines or other confined spaces. Check with Lion Oil safety personnel if you're unsure about the need for a permit. Permits must be updated at the beginning of each shift or when conditions change. Any line break where there may be a potential for a hazardous chemical or vapor release will be conducted under the supervision of the safety department and the operating department. Safe lifting permits are required when lifting a load over a pipe rack, vessel, or structure. This procedure is used to identify all process piping and power lines that may be affected during the lift. On any lift in the refinery, large or small, there must be a tagline in place guiding the load being lifted. Riding on material hoists or crane loads is not permitted. Never work or walk under a suspended load. The operations department is in charge of initially locking out the equipment and ensuring a zero energy state. The operations department is furnished with locks specifically for each unit and for the sole purpose of lockout-tagout. During group lockout, operations will perform the initial lockout and place their key in the lockbox. Operations will then place a second lock on the lockbox and keep the key with them. Then, each contractor will place their lock on the lockbox before beginning work.
Operations will be the first to apply their lock and the last to remove it. Compressed gas cylinders must be properly secured to prevent tipping and must be shut off at the cylinder when not in use. Cylinder caps must be in place when cylinders are being moved and whenever regulators are not attached to the cylinders. At the end of each shift or workday, regulators must be removed and bottles capped. If you have to do any cutting, use a striker to light the torch. Butane lighters are not permitted in the refinery. All acetylene bottles must be equipped with a shutoff valve or T-handle when in use. Acetylene bottles cannot be taken inside of any vessel. Anytime you use an extension cord or auxiliary piece of electrical equipment, you must use a ground fault interrupter to avoid electrical shock hazards. The GFI should be placed at the source of the electricity to protect the extension cord and the equipment as well as the person working. If you work 4 feet or more off the ground on any temporary surface that does not have adequate protection to prevent falling, you must wear a safety harness with a self-retracting lanyard and you must be tied off. At Lion Oil, we have a qualified scaffolding company hired to build, tear down, and modify our scaffolds. If you need a scaffold, call the maintenance department and they'll coordinate the work to be done. The scaffolding company is actually working for you. Let them know if there's any problem with the scaffold. Contractors are not authorized to build or do any scaffold adjustments. Scaffolds will be tagged with a daily inspection tag filled out by the company that builds the scaffolds and a color-coded tag. A yellow tag means the scaffold is complete for use, but special safety equipment is required. A green tag means the scaffold is completely finished and ready for use. A red tag or no tag designates the scaffold is not complete and is unusable. When climbing to an elevated work area, do not climb with tools in your hands or pockets. Do not drop or throw tools from platforms. Use an approved rope and lifting bucket, such as a canvas lineman's bucket, to pull the tools up. Plastic buckets are not allowed as they become brittle and break when loaded. Only ladders in good condition are permitted in the plant. Inspect ladders according to your company's requirements. Remove defective ladders immediately. When using a step ladder, make sure the ladder is fully opened and the arms are locked into position. Do not use a folding ladder as a straight ladder. Do not use metal ladders adjacent to electrical equipment. Never climb on the top 2 steps of the ladder. When using an extension ladder, make sure the ladder extends 3 feet above the surface it comes to rest on. A common problem when using an extension ladder is getting the proper angle in which to climb. A good way to get the right angle is to lean the ladder against the area you wish to climb. Place your feet at the base of the ladder with your toes touching the ladder feet. Then reach out and grab the side rails with your hands. The rails should be at arm's reach. Any closer and the ladder is too straight up and may tip over backwards with you. Any farther away and the ladder is angled too much and might slide out from under you. Once the ladder is in place, use the buddy system to climb the ladder and tie it off to prevent slipping. Barricade all open holes and ditches as long as they're to remain open both while you are working and at the end of the day. Also, barricade overhead and trip hazards. Yellow barricade tape is caution tape and warns of possible hazards, but the area may be entered with caution. Red barricade tape is a warning that indicates there is a known hazard. Do not cross red barricade tape unless you're authorized to do so. Radiation signs in magenta and yellow mark areas where portable X-ray units are inspecting equipment and piping in the refinery. Do not go into areas where radiation signs are present. Asbestos insulation can be found on some of the piping and equipment in the facility. This insulation is marked with signs and tags at all locations. Blue signs indicate areas where there is no asbestos. Any line not clearly marked should be treated as containing asbestos until verified otherwise. Do not sand, drill, or disturb asbestos-containing materials. Asbestos-containing materials can only be removed by certified technicians. Lead-based paint may be found in the refinery. Only when lead paint is disturbed does it release tiny particles of lead dust that could harm you. The Lion Refinery policy on lead-based paint is simple. Unless a painted surface is known to be lead-free, no one is authorized to scrape, brush, grind, cut, burn, or otherwise disturb that surface in a way that creates airborne particles. There are a variety of hazardous chemicals found in most process units of the refinery. If you come into contact with any of these materials or experience any of the symptoms described, immediately evacuate the area and contact the safety department or operations. While H2S may be present in several locations of the refinery, it's predominantly found in the hydrotreater areas, units number 6, number 8, 9, 10, 12, 15, 17, and number 18. Stationary alarms and monitors are present in these areas. You're required to wear a personal H2S monitor in all process areas, including the hydrotreater area. If you see a red flashing light or your personal monitor alarms, leave the area and contact the safety department immediately. Hydrogen sulfide, H2S, is a colorless, heavier-than-air gas that has a rotten egg odor in low concentrations. It's an extremely poisonous gas. In high concentrations, it deadens the sense of smell and is therefore odorless. We have 2 levels of sulfuric acid in the refinery, 92 and 98%. It runs in the pipe rack down through the plant and underground. Sulfuric acid can also be found in the cooling towers. Sulfur dioxide gas, or SO2, has a good warning property. The burnt match smell of sulfur dioxide can be detected by most people at very low concentrations. SO2 in the atmosphere will appear as a white or grayish smoke. Respiratory protection is required when air concentrations reach 5 ppm or greater. Chlorine is found around the cooling towers. 1-ton chlorine gas cylinders are present in the refinery. Chlorine is a greenish-yellow gas with a pungent odor. It's a respiratory threat at very low concentrations and should be avoided. Any smell of chlorine should be reported to operations immediately. Caustic is a corrosive liquid stored in various vessels and drums in the facility. Inhalation, skin-eye contact, and ingestion are the primary entry routes. The primary hazard is eye contact. Contact with the eye will cause severe burns and can result in permanent loss of vision. Contacted areas should be flushed with water for at least 15 minutes and medical help provided. In the caustic and acid areas, a face shield and goggles are required. Sodium hydrosulfide is a liquid formed when H2S reacts with caustic. Inhalation, skin or eye contact, and ingestion are the primary routes of entry. The primary hazard is eye contact. Contact with the eye will cause severe burns and can result in permanent loss of vision. If contacted, flush the affected area with water for at least 15 minutes and provide medical help. We also have a special biocide used for algae control in diesel fuel. This is combustible and produces hazardous fumes when involved in fire. Perchloride, a known carcinogen, is housed in units 6 and 9. In an emergency situation where there might be a fire in this area, there is a potential for phosgene gas to be present. The refinery has chemical injection systems that inject small amounts of chemicals into the system. These systems use a variety of chemicals, from corrosive inhibitors to gasoline and diesel inhibitors. Amine and liquid sulfuric acid are also present in the refinery. This completes your contractor safety overview. Our safety commitment is based on a genuine concern for all of our contractors and employees. If you have any questions or need assistance, any Lion Oil employee will help you. We'll work together to achieve an injury-free workplace. It's the responsibility of each carrier entering the Lion Oil refinery to train all of their employees in the proper Lion Oil procedures for loading and unloading inside the refinery. Alarms are in place at the refinery to alert you should an emergency occur while you're loading or unloading. If you hear an alarm, Stop the loading process and unhook your truck in case an evacuation is called for. Stay in place until Lion Oil emergency personnel tell you what to do. There is one steam whistle and one air horn in the refinery.
The evacuation signal is 2 long blasts of the emergency whistle. This is a signal for all employees and contractors to evacuate immediately.
In the event of an evacuation, all work must stop and all permits are canceled. The vapor release whistle is 3 short blasts 3 times for a total of 9 blasts. This means a gas cloud has been released in the plant and signals a very dangerous situation. If you do not know where to go during a release, do not leave your job site.
The fire whistle is short, continuous blasts of the emergency whistle.
When you hear this whistle, stop work immediately and consider all permits canceled until reissued or updated by the Lion Oil Safety Department. Unless the fire is in your area, stay where you are until emergency personnel and equipment get to the fire. The rescue horn sounds like a very loud automobile horn. The signal is 1 long blast on the air horn. The air horn is used to assemble the rescue team.
Report any emergency by dialing 300 on any refinery phone.
If you're in an area with no phone, any Lion Oil employee will call in the emergency using the all-call channel on the radio. The all clear is 1 long blast on the emergency whistle. When the all clear is sounded, it's safe to re-enter the refinery. At the Lion Refinery, there are many truck terminals where drivers load their own trucks. These loading terminals will vary with each specific product to be loaded or unloaded. Truckers will handle products from acids to caustics to a full line of hydrocarbons, ranging from asphalts to gasoline and diesel to LPG, liquid petroleum gas. Each product has its own unload-load procedures posted at the terminal with specific PPE requirements listed. Be sure to read all loading-unloading procedures posted at each terminal. Safety showers are located where appropriate at all loading racks. Be aware of their location before you begin the loading process. While procedures in PPE may vary, there are certain basic requirements that all drivers must adhere to while working at Lion Oil. There is to be no smoking or open flames of any kind on any load or unloading terminal at the Lion Refinery. There should be no spark-producing devices on terminals. This includes cell phones. All trucks must have proper placards indicating what product is loaded in the truck. If you have any problems while loading or unloading, contact Lion Oil personnel and they'll assist you. All drivers must follow these procedures when loading or unloading at the Lion Oil Refinery. Drive slowly as you enter and exit the loading-unloading rack. Turn your engine off. Set your parking brake. And ground your truck. Chock your wheels. Wear the proper PPE for the product you're loading. Stay with your truck until the loading-unloading process is complete. When finished, disconnect the loading hose, disconnect the ground, unchock the wheels, stow your PPE, and re-enter your truck. Release the parking brake and pull slowly out of the loading rack. Asphalt and sodium hydrosulfide loading racks are equipped with a stop sign that drivers are to swing into position so that it's visible through the front window of their truck. This sign serves as a reminder to drivers to unhook their truck and lift the loading platform to its upright position before pulling out of the loading rack. Required PPE for asphalt truck loading is a hard hat, safety glasses, a face shield, and gloves. Long sleeves buttoned at the cuff and ankle-length pants are required. It's important that you wear your PPE as the temperature of the asphalt is between 300 and 400 degrees. Your face shield must be in the down position when the pump is turned on. PPE required when loading sodium hydrosulfide is a chemical-resistant suit, gloves, and boots. The suit must be zipped and buttoned. Pants must be worn on the outside of the boot and are not to be tucked in. Face shields are required to be worn over your safety glasses, and the shield must be in the down position when the pump is turned on. Use caution when loading sodium hydrosulfide, as vapors can be released when the dome of your truck is open and also during the loading process. H2S monitors and a safety shower are located on the loading rack for your protection. If you see a red flashing light, leave the area and contact a member of the Lion Oil Safety Department. Use the catch bucket provided to keep the chemical off the ground and the loading rack platform. Caustic is highly corrosive and will cause severe burns if it comes in contact with your skin. Wear a chemical-resistant suit, gloves, and boots when loading caustic. The suit must be zipped and buttoned. Pants are to be worn outside of the boots and not tucked in. You must also have goggles and a face shield in addition to your safety glasses. Your face shield must be worn in the down position when the pump is turned on. Locate the safety shower eye wash station before you begin loading. PPE required when loading diesel and gasoline is a hard hat, gloves, and sturdy leather shoes. Open flames, smoking, and cell phones are prohibited in the loading area. A yellow light located at each terminal flashes during the loading process. A Lion Oil employee is present at the loading rack to assist you if you have any problems. When LPG liquid reaches the outside atmosphere, it flashes and auto-refrigerates, becoming very cold. If it gets on your skin, it can cause frostbite instantly. It's also extremely flammable. PPE required when loading LPG is long sleeves, rubber gloves, a face shield, and safety glasses. Hydrocarbon detectors are located in the tank farm. If the green light comes on, stop the loading process and contact Lion Oil immediately. Failure to follow any of these basic requirements will result in either probation or banishing the driver from the Lion Oil refinery.